Hey guys, welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well on this Wednesday afternoon, and a bit of an update when it comes to Mason Greenwood and his Manchester United future. Now obviously it's a very serious issue, so we want to discuss this in the best way possible. We had said previously that we're not going to discuss this until Manchester United themselves have released an official statement, and this afternoon they have. It must be stressed on the outset of this that the announcement has been that there is no decision yet that has been made. Manchester United kind of putting a statement out there to, I think, get ahead of some media reporting that had come out this afternoon, this lunchtime, regarding a potential return for Mason Greenwood, or at least certainly a roadmap, a plan for him to return to to be integrated back into the first team, into the club. So United have released a statement, therefore it's probably the best time and most appropriate time to discuss the statement, to discuss my thoughts, your thoughts. Flex is currently out at the moment. He will be back later, and he will be posting a video to give his thoughts as well. So it's not just me that's talking about it today, and also we'll get some of your thoughts as well. Obviously, from the outset, I will ask of the UV community, look, we should maybe establish some ground rules first before we sort of read out the statement, before we give opinions on it and all this kind of stuff too, because it's a difficult one. And honestly, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I don't know if I can really articulate my feelings on this very well, but I'm going to do my best. So bear with me in this one today. What I will say is, as I mentioned, I think let's set some ground rules. Obviously, this is a really serious issue. It's a very serious topic, and people are going to have vastly differing and strong opinions on this subject matter, on this individual topic, which is fine. But obviously in the chats, with your chats, with super chats, if people have differing opinions to yourself, let's keep it respectful. Present your opinion. You don't have to agree, because a lot of people are going to disagree on this one. But certainly, let's be different. The UV community, let's be different than the 99% of people on social media with this, and let's have a civilized discussion on this. This is what separates the UV community from the rest, right? So I think that's probably fair. I think that's fair of what to say. Now, as far as the statement that Manchester United have released, I think it's probably worth trying to do this in as linear fashion as possible. So the Athletic, Adam Crafton from the Athletic, released a report around 4 o'clock, so about half an hour ago, which basically said that the Manchester United chief executive, Richard Arnold, had told senior staff 2 weeks ago that United were planning to bring back Mason Greenwood. He had also, the chief executive, intended to record a video explaining the decision to bring him back. Now, as part of that plan for Mason Greenwood's reintegration to the Manchester United men's first team, Richard Arnold intended, as I mentioned, to record a video explaining the decision that would be shared with both the staff and the general public, Manchester United fans alike. Now, this proposed date for this Mason Greenwood announcement was Friday, August 4th. Of course, currently now it's Wednesday, August 16th. That date has come and gone. United did not proceed with the announcement, and 12 days on, the Athletic are reporting, obviously they're still to communicate any decision publicly, even though this statement has just come out, meaning elements of the plan could still possibly change in the future. The plan, according to the Athletic, laid out by Richard Arnold that week, was that Mason Greenwood would not make any appearances with the club's charitable arm, the United Foundation, the Manchester United Foundation, in the short to medium term, even though the club would be bringing him back to the first team setup. Now, that report came out, and then very, very quickly, Manchester United themselves released a statement, probably knowing that report was coming, probably knowing that this report was coming out there, and obviously there's been a lot of speculation around this issue in general. So this is what the statement from Manchester United says, and I quote, "Following the dropping of all charges against Mason Greenwood in February 2023, Manchester United has conducted a thorough investigation into the allegations made against him. This is drawn on extensive evidence and context not in the public domain, and we have heard from numerous people with direct involvement or knowledge of the case. Throughout this process, the welfare and perspective of the alleged victim has been central to the club's inquiries, and we respect her right to lifelong anonymity. We also have responsibilities to Mason as an employee, as a young person who has been with the club since the age of 7, and as a new father with a partner. The fact-finding phase of our investigation investigation is now complete and we are in the final stages of making a decision on Mason's future. Contrary to media speculation, that decision has not yet been made and is currently the subject of intensive internal deliberation. Responsibility ultimately rests with the Chief Executive Officer, of course that's Richard Arnold. Once made, the decision will be communicated and explained to the club's internal and external stakeholders. This has been a difficult case for everyone associated with Manchester United, and we understand the strong opinions it has provoked based on the partial evidence in the public domain. We ask for patience as we work through the final stages of this carefully considered process. So what United are saying is, maybe contrary to what The Athletic was reporting, that yes, this investigation into all different aspects of this case, they're suggesting there's things that the public don't know about this case, that they have found out or they knew about and they've investigated. They've completed the investigation, but contrary to what maybe The Athletic and other people are suggesting, a decision has not been made. But certainly, I think you could argue, given the language that they've used in certain elements of this statement, when they talk about their responsibilities to Mason Greenwood as an employee, as a young person who has been with the club since the age of 7, as a new father with a partner, it does feel like, certainly my takeaway was that they are leaning towards, as The Athletic mentioned, putting out this roadmap certainly to bring him back. Now, as I mentioned, this is a very unique situation, and it's not like the other situations that we have seen in the past involving footballers, involving sports stars, involving celebrities, because usually in those instances you just have allegations, right? We have seen these stories play out throughout the media all the time. These people are alleged to have done something, they're tried, they're found guilty, they're found not guilty, or in this case the case is dropped and no charges are pursued or anything like that. However, this one, of course, is different because we all saw, or at least the vast majority of us, saw the pictures, we saw the videos, we all heard the audio tapes, and personally, and again, I can only speak for myself here, and I am only speaking for myself and my own opinion, I can't talk for other people. Personally, all of that I find very difficult to overcome. I find that very difficult to look past and forget. Now, obviously, in the eyes of the law, he is an innocent man. The key words there are in the eyes of the law. The case was dropped. It was deemed that there was not enough evidence to prosecute and that the witnesses would not cooperate, which again, must be stressed, doesn't mean he didn't do what was alleged of him. He is innocent in the eyes of the law. That doesn't mean he didn't do what was alleged of him. He might not have done that. Again, that's why we use the word alleged. And again, it's important to stress that. However, he and others would argue that he was not convicted of a crime. He should have the right to work and earn a living. There's nothing criminal, once again, in the eyes of the law, which again is true. And I do think that's a valid argument in this. It's a valid argument in terms of moving on with his life and his career. But we also know that I think it's quite naive just to look at it as black and white in that, because this is not as cut and dry in that. This is a shades of grey situation, and conviction is about a burden of proof. And those that were prosecuting clearly felt that there was not high enough burden of proof to bring this case to trial. They will also say, as the statement says, that Greenwood and his partner, they are still together. They now have a child. They are planning to get married. They've moved on, so why can't we? However, again, the other side of that will be, but in these instances, with these allegations, what's happened and the aftermath of what has happened, having a child together, sticking together, that's not uncommon too. And it doesn't hide away and make what happened disappear. And it doesn't make what happened allegedly fine. And it doesn't give people a pass just because they're still together. And I think what upsets me the most, honestly, what upsets me the most about this whole reaction to this, obviously the things that came out and the things that people saw and heard, and the entire situation is incredibly upsetting and incredibly disturbing. For me also, what's very disturbing and what's very upsetting is people begging for his return and idolizing him just because they want their football team to win matches and trophies. This is this is so trivial, and it's really quite disgusting because it's bigger than that. This issue is bigger than football. This issue is far more prevalent than if your team scores more goals than the others and wins football matches. This is bigger than your team winning and beating your friend's team or your rival's team and bragging on social media. This is much bigger than just a football issue. This is a cultural issue. This is a societal issue. This was previously, now no longer, which again makes it even greyer, this was a legal issue. This has affected people that had zero interest in football and zero knowledge of Mason Greenwood, the footballer, or zero knowledge of Manchester United, the football club. This has affected a lot of people, as I mentioned. The allegations, the photos, the audio tapes, they're all so serious that time has almost allowed people to forget them or pushing them out of their minds. So for me, again, my opinion is those people that have been saying and doing that, going on social media and, again, begging to bring him back just based on purely, well, he's better than the players we've got. I think you need to have a good look at yourselves, because that's trivializing what is a really, really serious situation. Again, even though we're past the legal aspect of it, again, that is still a really serious situation, and to trivialize it down just to, again, I because he's going to score goals for my team, then I would say, again, that's embarrassing. And again, really, really embarrassing. Myself, because people want to know my opinion on this, myself personally, I wouldn't have brought him back. I'm not sure, again, how you can see past that, in all honesty. I think that, you know, as I mentioned, I do believe he has a right to work. I do believe, again, in the eyes of the law, he is innocent. It shouldn't stop him from, again, earning money or having a career in football or what have you. But also, Manchester United is Manchester United. They talk about how many billions of fans Manchester United have, and this has affected so many of them. And you could argue from a legal point of view, has he done anything that could allow you to terminate his contract or anything like that? And you could argue that the whole situation has brought the club into disrepute in general. Obviously, again, United have a women's team, and this is such a prevalent and triggering issue that you do have to think about the issues and the survivors of similar issues that United fans, how must they feel? Obviously, again, in football, from a football point of view, Mason Greenwood is an incredibly gifted and brilliant footballer. But to me, this is more than a football issue. And to suggest that this is just a football issue, I believe, does a disservice to the allegations, the subject matter, and just the whole incident. And again, I can see a lot of people saying the poll and all this kind of stuff. People, we'll get some of your opinions and up on the screen at the moment. But again, as I've said, I know people will talk about sponsors, etc. But for me personally, I don't really care about that. I know that is a consideration of United. I know they will have consulted sponsors, officials, players to gauge how comfortable they are. Just when you look to the smaller aspects of it, the reaction inside Old Trafford, what is that going to be? If he scores a goal, you're going to have these conflicted feelings. I know I certainly am. Obviously, we know what's going to happen on opposition grounds and opposition players. In terms of his teammates, some will obviously be negative. Look, some will support him. I mean, some people have known Mason Greenwood his whole life, and the majority of the time that they've been through the academy. We saw the reaction to Benjamin Mendy's acquittal. There were lots of people in support of him. And again, I'm not here to say that is right or wrong. I can only give my opinion, and I can see again in the chat that people will have many different opinions than me. That's fine. That's fine. No problem. I understand that. I understand it's a challenging one, and this is an incredibly unique situation, given the person, the celebrity, the outcome, the evidence, the images, the audio tapes, the victim. They're still together, obviously, with a child and getting married. It's not simple. And clearly there are big differences of opinion, and I can see, I can see at the moment that it's incredibly divisive, and I know that there'll be people that don't agree with my opinion on it. I know that there'll be people that don't care what I have to say or whatever, and again, that's totally fine. I understand that, but you know, and again, I'm not sitting here either saying that, you know, I'm this massive saint. because nobody's perfect. But again, to trivialize it just down to, well, nobody's perfect, mate, again, I think does a disservice to the allegation and to the subject matter and to the circumstances. I understand that too. But, like as I mentioned, I think people that are trivializing it down to just football, I think, again, does a disservice to it all, honestly. And just in terms of any more updates as well, I believe that I just saw a report suggesting that, once again, I think this had come from the likes of TalkSport or others, suggesting that people had told people within Manchester United have been Manchester United staff have been told to prepare for the potential return of Mason Greenwood to the club. Adam Crafton, once again from this Athletic article, has said that Manchester United's sporting department, including John Murtough and Erik ten Hag, are in favour of Mason Greenwood's reinstatement. So certainly from the sporting side of things. And look, I think from that perspective, from Erik ten Hag's perspective and from John Murtough's perspective, that's all they're concerned about is the sporting side of things. And I'm sure from the sporting side of things, they'll be like, well, if he's ready to play and if he's available to play, if Richard Arnold, who again they're saying is the key thing, is the key decision maker here, decides to bring him back, then they'd have him in the team. Of course they would. But again, as I said, no one's going to have exact same opinions on this. I think the important thing to do is, if someone does have a differing opinion to you, is to not jump down their throat, and go crazy at them and all this kind of stuff. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. Avi says, anyone who doesn't want him, what do you think of Giggs? I also think with stuff like that, it's not a case of doing, whataboutism or anything like that, because as I said before, this situation in general is incredibly unique. It's incredibly unique because each case is unique. Each case and each incident is unique. And in this one, it's incredibly unique because, again, there was the footage or the images or whatever you want to call it that came out. The Ryan Giggs situation, the thing that similarly with him, his case was eventually dropped. I believe he was tried and did it come to a hung jury? And then it came to, once again, the case was dropped. But that incident is different because each case is unique. And I don't think, once again, that you can compare two to the others. Again, I think that does a disservice to the situation too. Mr. Farrelly says, everyone makes mistakes. We learn from them. Everyone deserves a second chance. Depends on what you have done. But a player like him is what United need as soon as possible. And look, again, I think when it comes to Erik ten Hag's perspective, he will only be thinking about the football side of things because that's his job too. His job is to think about the football side of things. And I'm sure that Erik ten Hag and those within the club will have gauged the pulse of the locker room too, honestly. And look, with people coming back from this kind of subject matter, it's not even in sports. There are instances of people coming back from things that they have actually been convicted of. You look at someone like Mike Tyson. I mean, he went to jail for what allegedly Mason Greenwood was at one point charged for. Obviously, the charges were eventually dropped, and he came back, and people revere him today. People forget about that past, and like I said, every situation is incredibly unique, and even sitting here today, as I mentioned, it's a difficult stream to do. It's a difficult stream to do. It's a difficult subject matter to talk about because I'm still incredibly conflicted on it. Again, my opinion is wouldn't have brought him back. At the very, very, very least, it would have been a case of bringing him back and sending him elsewhere to kind of, again, test the pulse on how people would react to this kind of thing. But it affects so many people. It does. Imran says, I'm disgusted that anyone would want an abuser allegedly back at United. He can have a second chance working at Asda. And again, like just Kevin says here too, it's a really difficult topic. It is. And I can see people in the chat will say to me, Owen, are you acting like you're innocent, or stop being so self-righteous? And certainly I don't I don't mean to be sitting here and being self-righteous, and I'm not sitting here and saying that I'm judge, jury, and executioner, because I'm not. They were going to bring it to a jury, and they believed that the Crown Prosecution Service believed that they couldn't get a conviction, so they dropped it. Ultimately, my opinion has just as much weight as yours in this instance. I'm giving you my opinion, you're giving me yours. And the important thing, once again, is to act as civilized as possible. If you can't do that, then that's on you. That's on you that you can't form an articulate argument back to me. You know, I don't know what to say to you or anything like that. VK says, keep it respectful. Don't shoot Owen as he's simply relating the announcement from Manchester United and sharing his initial take. Look, I knew coming into this one. That, again, people are going to be very angry, or people are going to be very upset at either the statement or whatever I have to say or anything like that. That is what it is. Soham says, I respect your opinion and agree with it as well. El Cap says, Owen, you're doing a great job. Andy says, hats off to Owen doing news. These are super chats, by the way. I'm not just cherry picking the best ones. I promise you. But again, it's a difficult one. Obviously, it's a difficult one, and I also as well will hold my hands up here and say I'm hardly an expert in this. All I can do is give my opinion, and all you can do is give your opinion. I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a PR expert. I'm not a what to do in this situation. And I think also as well, people within the club, they'll all be they've probably had 10 million conversations about this kind of stuff too, because they don't know, because they're thinking this is such a unique and, again, polarizing and such a tough subject matter, such a loaded subject matter, because you do look at some of the statistics and you do look at the amount of allegations that get brought to conviction, and you do also look at situations whereby, you know, it is a case of perception, or you do look at, you know, what you can and you can't believe, and it is difficult. I'm not denying that it is difficult too. And this isn't going to go away. This isn't even the official announcement. This isn't even the official statement. This is just Manchester United releasing a statement suggesting that their investigation is complete. They're still deliberating their decision. They're still considering what that decision may be, and they haven't made that call yet. My interpretation of what that statement was, again, I can read it out once again, considering more people are in here right now. My interpretation of it was that I felt that they were trying to maybe somewhat soften the blow for when they do make that official announcement. And I think the official announcement will be that they bring him back. That looks like what they're going to be doing, doesn't it? And that's the way that I kind of looked at it. I looked at it as they're trying to get ahead of this thing, of what the Athletic are reporting, and also as well that they're trying to sort of soften the blow a little bit too. I think I'm caught up with those chats as well. Look, and as Minna says there, you know, keep it civil. You know, keep it civil in the chat. Be respectful. As Minna says, it is a community. I totally appreciate that it's a difficult situation. I totally appreciate as well, as I've said 10 million times, that you're going to have different opinions. You're going to have different opinions, and you're going to have different perspectives of where you land on this. Again, the important thing is, I think in this instance, is that, you know, we don't turn on each other. You know, we don't turn on each other, and we allow people to have their different opinions. If you believe in your heart of hearts that Mason Greenwood should be brought back, and you believe that Mason Greenwood deserves another chance, I can't sit here and tell you that your opinion categorically is wrong, because it's just that. It's an opinion. I can say that I don't agree with you, and like I said, and I can tell you that I haven't come to the same conclusion that you have, and again, I don't, after just seeing that statement, I don't know again how I sort of feel about it honestly, but I can't, you know, again, these are opinions, honestly. Once again, if you are just joining us, Manchester United have released a statement. Again, kind of came out the same amount of time of this Athletic report, suggesting that they again haven't made a decision on Mason Greenwood, but certainly they're very close to making one. Once again, it said, and I quote, "Following the dropping of all charges against Mason Greenwood in February 2023, Manchester United has conducted a thorough investigation into the allegations made against him. This is drawn on extensive evidence and context not in the public domain, and we have heard from numerous people with direct involvement or knowledge of the case. Throughout this process, the welfare and perspective of the alleged victim has been central to the club's inquiries, and we respect her lifelong right to anonymity. We also have responsibilities to Mason as an employee, as a young person who has been with the club since the age of 7, and as a new father with a partner. The fact-finding phase of our investigation is now complete, and we're in the final stages of making a decision on Mason's future. Contrary to media speculation, that decision has not yet been made and is currently the subject of intensive internal deliberation. Responsibility ultimately rests with the Chief Executive Officer, of course that being Richard Arnold. Once made, the decision will be communicated and explained to the club's internal and external stakeholders. This has been a difficult case for everyone associated with Manchester United, and we understand the strong opinions it has provoked based on the partial evidence in the public domain. We ask for patience as we work through the final stages of this carefully considered process." Now, as I mentioned, it was previously reported that this announcement or a decision was going to be made prior to the first game against Wolves, as they mentioned. Obviously, that didn't happen. It was later then reported that they were consulting with members of the women's team, and that reporting, I think, was really, really badly worded and was way off. Because it was then later explained, and this is what really upsets me and concerns me about this, is then people on social media targeted these specific members of the Manchester United women's team in response to posts from about the Lionesses and all this kind of stuff, and were going at them like they have anything to do with that. Like they don't. And in reality, what really happened in that situation, I would recommend to go check out. It was the Muppeteers did a really good bit on this, and it was also later reported as well, that in reality what the stage they were at is that the investigation had been completed, and what they were essentially doing is they were going around to all of these different stakeholders, sponsors, again, people within the club, people within the organisation, and essentially telling them what they had found, telling them, we've completed our investigation, this is what we have found, this is what we understood to have happened, this is what we're thinking about doing. And they were gauging opinion on it, but it wasn't really going to affect that much of what they've decided to do in the future. And again, the amount that they were attacked by that was, again, for me, absolutely horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. Like they have anything really to do with this situation. Again, over people wanting their team to have this player. It was, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that. And again, it sickened me, really, what happened there. Now, as I mentioned, they said that this announcement was going to be made, they say August 5th it was going to happen. It didn't. I still expect it to happen. The reporting prior to today had suggested that the announcement might come in the international break or something like that. It would appear, certainly, that Richard Arnold's plan to do it is to make some kind of video announcement, to explain his decisions to, obviously, the fans, the public, the sponsors, the stakeholders, all that kind of stuff in this video message, which, again, looking at the statement today, would appear that it is going to be that Greenwood is going to be reintegrated into the men's first team. And again, that looks like the decision they're going to be making. I know that there had been reports about him doing some kind of interview, or him and his partner doing some kind of interview. Again, I don't know. I don't know whether that's whether they'll do that. I don't think it would almost be the best thing to put him that directly in the spotlight, honestly. My prediction of how things will probably happen is that, again, Richard Arnold will do this video message. I think they'll probably release it. We play Arsenal, then we're on in the international break, aren't we? I would probably predict again that game happens maybe the day after or something like that. That video gets released, and then after that, you know, they almost have the rest of the international break to everyone to digest it. Really, I think again that's probably the most likely circumstance of really what happens here. But again, the news today is that United have released a statement, hence why it's now the time to talk about it and discuss it, civilized as best as possible. I know people aren't capable of that, but that's the latest when it comes from United and their reaction today from it. What else have we got here? Caramore says he's coming back. Very telling that they spoke of evidence and context, not in the public purview, and they've spoken to people directly involved. And also as well, this is another thing that's probably worth pointing out, I have no idea if they're going to make the findings of their investigation public. I have no idea if they're going to release some of the information that they have found versus what, you know, the CPS were looking at or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea, whether it's not a good idea. You can let me know your thoughts in the chat about that, or if you're watching after the fact in the comment section below when it comes to it too. KG's hairstylist says, this is a situation where nobody wins, glazes out. And Soham says, current society is horrible and sickening. I think when it comes to people's reactions to it, as I mentioned, I don't think you can ask people to be civil and respectful and have measured conversations, but ultimately I don't think you're gonna get that, unfortunately, when it comes to this. So as I mentioned, look, that's the latest news for it. I don't think it's worth discussing for an hour or anything like that. As I mentioned, Flex will have his thoughts, his opinions coming up later today once he gets back in. So if you want to hear his point of view, his opinion on it, obviously he'll give it later on today as well. In the meantime, as I mentioned, in the comment section below, try and keep it as civilized as possible. Try and give your opinion and not smash other people and reach down their throats or anything like that. I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.